probe. Peter Strzok, specifically, we are learning more about his involvement in the 2016 investigation into Hillary Clinton's private email server. Our own Catherine Herridge has the very latest tonight from Washington. Catherine.
Sean, our investigative team reviewed this FBI summary of Hillary Clinton's July 2016 interview, and it shows that the same FBI agent, Peter Strzok, was part of it. Agent Strzok, who allegedly sent anti-Trump texts, weighed in on Comey's public statement just 3 days later that recommended against criminal charges, and he helped change the language in an earlier draft from grossly negligent to extremely careless. That's key because gross negligence is the legal standard under the federal statute 18 U.S.C. 793F, and it's widely reported that Agent Strzok also oversaw the review of Clinton aide Huma Abedin's emails that were found on her estranged husband Anthony Weiner's computer. That discovery led the FBI to reopen and close the criminal email probe just days before the election.
It's not good for the FBI, which holds itself up as a paragon of virtue, where there's no political motivations and we just follow the facts, that's all. And everybody knows that's not the case. The FBI is an organization of human beings with political interests, political calculations, and of course that happens.
FBI Director Christopher Wray, appointed by President Trump, will publicly testify on Capitol Hill Thursday. Sean?
All right, Catherine, thank you from Washington. Now, both of my next guests were involved with the investigation into Hillary Clinton's email server scandal. Joining us now, former Intelligence Community Inspector General Charles McCullough and former Republican Congressman, Chairman of the House Oversight Committee, Fox News contributor Jason Chaffetz. Mr. McCullough, let's talk about you and the Clinton campaign planning to fire you over the probe and much more. Tell us about that experience.
Well, absolutely. In no uncertain terms, I was told numerous times that because of the probe, that she had intended, had she won, to relieve myself and the State Department IG, that we would be the first two to be let go in her administration.
Unbelievable.
In retaliation for what we had
And look at what we have now. Fix was in. You write an exoneration before an investigation. That is called fixing a case. That would send Sean Hannity and maybe everybody but Jason to jail, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Certainly, you're going to have clearance issues, you're going to have employability issues, and most importantly, you're going to have criminal issues for all three of those categories. Absolutely.
Former Congressman, well, you're a talk show host now. It's a far better position. Let me take you back July 7th, 2016. You interviewing, well, you asking questions of James Comey. This is critical, this exchange.
Did you review the documents where Congressman Jim Jordan asked her specifically? And she said, quote, "There was nothing marked classified on my emails, either sent or received," end quote.
I don't remember reviewing that particular testimony. I'm aware of that being said, though.
Did the FBI investigate her statements under oath on this topic?
Not to my knowledge. I don't think there's been a referral from Congress.
Do you need a referral from Congress to investigate her statements under oath?
Sure do.
You'll have one. You'll have one in the next few hours.
And that happened. Did Hillary lie? And what, James Comey, knowing now, he had long been involved in writing and drafting an exoneration of Hillary before he even interviewed her.
Yeah, no, clearly Hillary Clinton did lie under oath. I mean, when Roger Clemens supposedly lied under oath, the Department of Justice indicted him, but Hillary Clinton not so much. You also got to remember, one of the little-known facts there is that the Department of Justice, via the FBI, was handing out immunity like candy. And in those immunity agreements, they were not required to cooperate with government officials. You contrast that with General Flynn, who has to plead guilty and has to cooperate. So here you're giving out immunity. These witnesses had no obligation to work with government officials and investigators. And there are still, Sean, to this day, tens of thousands of documents, Hillary Clinton emails that have not been shared with Congress. They are still sitting over at the Department of State.
Unbelievable. Wouldn't you, Mr. McCullough, wouldn't you have to now redo this investigation, knowing what we know now about how the fix was in?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's look, the entire campaign over and over was lying. There was collusion. There was coordination between the campaign, between the State Department, between folks on the Hill. As I have said over and over again, This was a very coordinated effort strategically by those three entities to misrepresent what was actually in those emails.
What do you make of Mr. Strzok, Congressman? And now we find out that he interviewed Uma Abedin and Cheryl Mills and all of these other people, and he had a pro-Clinton, anti-Trump bias. And then also he was part of the General Flynn the interrogation, which we're now learning, in fact, that Peter Strzok did, the FBI perhaps didn't even tell him it was an investigation. What do you make of all of that? How could somebody that abusively biased and Andrew Weissman, with his atrocious record, ever be appointed by Robert Mueller?
Look, Peter Strzok's at the intersection of all of these players in all of these investigations. And it was so bad that Mueller fired him months ago, but has not cooperated with the House Intelligence Committee. They were not providing the documents. They were not going to make them, except for now that it's in the media, we're not going to make them available. Devin Nunes, Trey Gowdy have been trying to get at this for a long, long time. And he had this clear bias. Yeah, remember, he's dating, having an affair with another FBI agent.
And she was on Mueller's
team. You can watch The Office. Michael Scott doesn't even get away with that.
She was another anti-Trump person on the Mueller team, we learned tonight. All right, thank you both. We appreciate it. We're going to stay on this. When we come back, Liberal Morning Joe, well, he continues to have emotional breakdowns, one after another, exposing themselves as the hacks that they are on that network. Later, you won't believe what Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi thinks is going to kill all of you and other Democrats. You're going to die.
Well, I feel badly for General Flynn. I feel very badly. He's led a very strong life, and I feel very badly, John. I will say this. Hillary Clinton lied many times to the FBI. Nothing happened to her. Flynn lied, and they destroyed his life. I think it's a shame. Hillary Clinton, on the 4th of July weekend, went to the FBI, not under oath. It was the most incredible thing anyone's ever seen. She lied many times. Nothing happened to her. Flynn lied, and it's like they ruined his life. It's very unfair. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, when did you find out he lied to the FBI?
In March, you also said this. Your server was physically located on your property, which is protected by the Secret Service. Now, I'm having a hard time figuring this out because this story's been all over the place, but there was one server on your property in New York and a second server hosted by a Colorado company and housed in New Jersey. Is that right? There were two servers?
No. There was a server
Just one?
was already being used by my husband's team, an existing system in our home that I used, and then later, again, my husband's office decided that they wanted to change their arrangements, and that's when they contracted with the company in Colorado.
And so there's only one server? Is that what you're telling me? And it's the one server that the FBI has?
The FBI has the server that was used during the tenure of my State Department service.
Okay. In your statement, you said which was protected by the Secret Service. Why'd you mention the Secret Service?
Well, because
here's what I'm thinking. Could a Secret Service agent standing at the back door of your house protect someone in Russia or China from hacking into your system? Why'd you mention the Secret Service agent?
Out of just an abundance of being transparent.
Transparent. What's the relevance to protecting from classified information?
There was nothing marked classified on my emails, either sent or received, and I want to respond.
Use the right term there. Use marked. Yeah, that's the one. That's
well,
what you use the revised statement there.
Well, Congressman, there was a lot of confusion because many Americans have no idea how the classification process works, and therefore I wanted to make it clear that there is a system within our government, certainly within the State Department, where materials that is thought to be classified is marked such so that people have the opportunity to know how they are supposed to be handling those materials. And that's why it became clearer, I believe, to say that nothing was marked classified at the time I sent or received it.
All right.
Good morning, Director Comey. Secretary Clinton said she never sent or received any classified information over her private email. Was that true?
Our investigation found that there was classified information sent.
So it was not true?
Right. That's what I said.
Okay. Well, I'm looking for a little shorter answer so you and I are not here quite as long. Secretary Clinton said there was nothing marked classified on her emails either sent or received. Was that true?
That's not true. There were a small number of portion markings on, I think, 3 of the documents.
Secretary Clinton said, I did not email any classified material to anyone on my email. There is no classified material. Was that true?
There was classified material emailed.
Secretary Clinton said she used just one device. Was that true?
She used multiple devices during the 4 years of her term as Secretary of State.
Secretary Clinton said all work-related emails were returned to the State Department. Was that true?
No, we found work-related emails, thousands, that were not returned.
Secretary Clinton said neither she nor anyone else deleted work-related emails from her personal account. Was that true?
That's a harder one to answer. We found traces of work-related emails on devices or in Slack space, whether they were deleted or whether when a server was changed out, something happened to them. There's no doubt that there were work-related emails that were removed electronically from the email system.
Secretary Clinton said her lawyers read every one of the emails and were overly inclusive. Did her lawyers read the email content individually?
No.
Well, in the interest of time, and because I have a plane to catch tomorrow afternoon, I'm not going to go through any more of the false statements, but I am going to ask you to put on your old hat. False exculpatory statements, they are used for what?
Well, either for a substantive prosecution or for evidence of intent in a criminal prosecution.
Exactly. Intent and consciousness of guilt, right? Is that right?
Right.
Consciousness of guilt and intent. In your old job, you would prove intent, as you just referenced, by showing the jury evidence of a complex scheme that was designed for the very purpose of concealing the public record. And you would be arguing, in addition to concealment, the destruction that you and I just talked about, or certainly the failure to preserve. You would argue all of that under the heading of intent. You would also be arguing the pervasiveness of the scheme, when it started, when it ended, and the number of emails, whether they were originally classified or up-classified. You would argue all of that under the heading of intent. You would also probably, under common scheme or plan, argue the burn bags of daily calendar entries or the missing daily calendar entries as a common scheme or plan to conceal. 2 days ago, Director, you said a reasonable person in her position should have known a private email was no place to send and receive classified information. You're right, an average person does know not to do that. This is no average person. This is a former First Lady, a former United States Senator, and a former Secretary of State that the President now contends is the most competent, qualified person to be president since Jefferson. He didn't say that in 2008, but he says it now. She affirmatively rejected efforts to give her a state.gov account. She kept these private emails for almost 2 years and only turned them over to Congress because we found out she had a private email account. So you have a rogue email system set up before she took the oath of office, thousands of what we now know to be classified emails, some of which were classified at the time. One of her more frequent email comrades was in fact hacked, and you don't know whether or not she was. And this scheme took place over a long period of time and resulted in the destruction of public records, and yet you say there is insufficient evidence of intent. You say she was extremely careless, but not intentionally so. You and I both know intent is really difficult to prove. Very rarely do defendants announce, on this date, I intend to break this criminal code section. Just to put everyone on notice, I am going to break the law on this date. It never happens that way. You have to do it with circumstantial evidence. Or if you're Congress and you realize how difficult it is to prove specific intent, you will formulate a statute that allows for gross negligence. My time is out, but this is really important. You mentioned there's no precedent for criminal prosecution. My fear is there still isn't. There's nothing to keep a future Secretary of State or President from this exact same email scheme or their staff. And my real fear is this. It's what the chairman touched upon. This double-track justice system that is rightly or wrongly perceived in this country. That if you are a private in the Army and you email yourself classified information, you will be kicked out. But if you are Hillary Clinton and you seek a promotion to commander-in-chief, you will not be. So what I hope you can do today is help the average person, the reasonable person you made reference to, the reasonable person understand why she appears to be treated differently than the rest of us would be. With that, I would yield back.
The left is probably hoping the hubbub over the Mike Flynn guilty plea will drown out this story, but a group of congressmen is demanding that the FBI investigate alleged special treatment of Hillary Clinton during its investigation into her private email server. Congressman Matt Gaetz of Florida sent a letter to FBI Director Christopher Wray asking the Bureau to explain its decision to investigate Clinton with a, quote, small team. What does that mean? The congressman joins us now. Congressman Gaetz, you've been all over this. People are saying, oh, you just don't understand when they say special investigation and small team, that's just routine kind of lingo. So you're making a big deal over nothing.
Well, Laura, we now have smoking gun evidence that Hillary Clinton got special treatment, and it's important to provide context. We've got Loretta Lynch on the tarmac with Bill Clinton. We've got Loretta Lynch telling James Comey to call this a matter and not an investigation. Then we've got James Comey sucking this up to headquarters and keeping the investigators in the Washington, D.C. office away from the Clinton investigation. And then he drafts the exoneration statement before even conducting the interview. In 6 days, the FBI Director, Christopher Wray, will be before the House Judiciary Committee, and we need answers because Hillary Clinton didn't deserve special treatment. She should have been treated like every American, and now we know she was not.
Do you think that when they say special treatment and the way they designated it, it was just, from what you can see with all the things you just laid out, it was just kind of soft pedaling it or shortcutting it, or we know the conclusion, let's just put some window dressing on it so it looks like it's official, but let's wrap this baby up as fast as possible. Is that what you're getting at?
Well, that's what the evidence suggests. And when you look at the recent documents released about the tarmac meeting between Loretta Lynch and Bill Clinton, the FBI was more worried about spin control and public relations and punishing the person that released this information than they were about the improper conduct of the Attorney General of the United States. And so time and again, we see from the Obama era that they were determining the outcomes before actually conducting the investigation. That's not what the American people deserve, and that's why we're going to fight for a real investigation.
Congressman, weren't they also desperate to find out who leaked the Clinton meeting on the tarmac with Loretta Lynch?
Absolutely. Recently discovered emails show that the FBI was very concerned about who let the American people know that Loretta Lynch was meeting with Bill Clinton, but they weren't at all concerned about the fact that the meeting had occurred and had jeopardized this very critical investigation. So we're really seeing a circumstance where the FBI, the Lynch Department of Justice, was engaged in a cover-up of their activities, all at the same time they were determining the outcome of the Hillary Clinton investigation before actually doing it.
All right, Congressman Gaetz, thanks for that update.